So the CBS News vice presidential debate between Democrat Tim Walz and Republican J.D. Vance was actually pretty congenial.
First of all, Governor, I agree with you.
Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this.
Tim just said something that I agree with.
And I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear.
Which is kind of refreshing.
There was a lot more substance in this debate than there was even in the presidential debate before.
Except then you realize, as much as these two men may genuinely have appreciated each other's company, this may also have simply been a way to appear to take the high road.
It is a disgrace, Tim, and I actually think, I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem, but I don't think that Kamala Harris does.
I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said about what's happening. His running mate, though, does not.
And then, by the end of the debate, it seemed both candidates just really wanted to kill each other with kindness.
Tim just mentioned a bunch of ideas. Now, some of those ideas I actually think are halfway decent.
And I think there's a lot of agreement.
This is far from being the most important aspect of the debate, but it speaks to something that vice presidential candidates uniquely have to keep in mind during a presidential election.
I think if you took a shot every time you heard the words, "I agree" tonight, you'd be at the table right now.
This debate was civil. At times, these two candidates even acknowledge where they have common ground.
It was almost as if the two candidates liked each other.
So both Walz and Vance are savvy enough to know that their beef isn't with each other. Elections don't hinge on vice presidents. No, their sights were always set squarely on the top of the ticket.
Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle.
Clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own rhetoric on this.
The VP debate is a really odd institution. The candidates aren't the top of the ticket. They don't have the authority to make pronouncements about the campaign the way that the nominees do.
They spent a lot of time attacking the VP candidates during this campaign, but Tuesday night was certainly focused a lot more on the top of the ticket.
And this makes sense. Presidents have all the power. They're who people actually vote for on election day. But what seemed to me like a kind of unspoken truce not to go too hard after each other, that even held firm when both candidates had clear opportunities to prosecute each other on glaring weaknesses. Like when the moderator put Tim Walz in an awkward position over a claim that he's often made that he was once a brave witness to history on the other side of the world.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year.
I'll give you the quick version of this. He wasn't. At least not when he said he was. He arrived a few months later.
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said.
And then, especially with both candidates' microphones unmuted, this would have been an easy opportunity for J.D. Vance to strike.
Walz essentially admitted that he had misspoken, and then there was another awkward silence where they were kind of leaving it out there for him to keep talking, and he just kind of crumbled a little bit in that moment.
But Vance doesn't say a word. He just watches. And then the moderator goes after him, and it's Tim Walz's turn to watch.
Senator Vance, in 2016, you called your running mate Donald Trump unfit for the nation's highest office, and you said he could be America's Hitler.
Now, this is something J.D. Vance has been called on before and once again during the debate.
I was wrong, first of all, because I believed some of the media stories that turned out to be dishonest fabrications of his record. But most importantly, Donald Trump delivered for the American people.
But again, Tim Walz opts to let this opportunity pass.
Well, I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me too, man.
There's one.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz actually kind of tried to, say nice things about J.D. Vance, basically suggested that J.D. Vance knows better, but he's on a ticket with this other guy named Donald Trump who believes all these crazy things.
But every debater is hoping to finish strong, right? And it was only near the very end that most analysts seem to agree Walz would land his strongest blow of the night.
It was very civil up until the end. I think this was a moment where obviously passions creep in a lot more.
The final topic of the evening was American democracy, and J.D. Vance was asked very pointed question about January 6th, 2021.
Would you again seek to challenge this year's election results, even if every governor certifies the results? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, Nora, first of all, I think that we're focused on the future.
At first, he seems to sidestep the question, but then he answers, saying he just thinks the election had problems, and all he's ever wanted to do is discuss those problems openly and peacefully. And then, to prove this, he extends Walz an olive branch.
We are going to shake hands after this debate and after this election. And of course, I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win. But if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it.
And I'll just pause it here, because you can see Walz nodding. He even says just before, slightly off mic, I appreciate that. But Vance is about to turn this into a political point. And you'll see, Walz is stunned.
We have to remember that for years in this country, Democrats protested the results of elections. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Vladimir Putin because the Russians bought like $500,000 worth of Facebook ads. This has been going on for a long time.
And we'll pause it again, because at this point, I'm not sure if he's still stunned or if he's getting irritated, but I think the gears are turning. He realizes Vance has just turned one of the deepest criticisms of Donald Trump into a critique of Hillary Clinton. And this is how he responds, kindly at first.
For everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance, I think this is the conversation they want to hear.
But
this is one that we are miles apart on. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
I think when he said that's a damning non-answer, I think that could be the sort of thing that becomes a soundbite that has a lifespan beyond the debate.
He really pointed out how the Republican ticket and J.D. Vance, who was trying to present this more acceptable picture of himself, is still kind of beholden to this election denialism that is so prevalent in the Republican Party right now.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was when the gloves flew off.
What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this, I'm pretty shocked by this, he lost the election. So America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
So I'll stress what I said at the start, that vice presidential debates don't tend to have much of any kind of material impact on polls and maybe not on election results at all. But what you'll hear the experts say over and over again about this election is that it's so close that maybe every little bit counts. And if that's true, this final debate of the campaign may be one that both sides think an awful lot about between now and Election Day on November 5th.